Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. This afternoon, National Labour Commission declares nurses and midwives strike as illegal, ordering them to go back to work immediately. We'll bring you live update as Health Minister Minta Kando visits some hospitals to assess the impact on healthcare services. Also coming up, Court of Appeal frees Atayi's mechanic after 23 years in jail. And much later, gun-wielding men confront Administrator of Minerals Development Fund Dr. Louisa Hannah Bisiu's anti-Galamsey team during operation at Kofrem in the Ashanti region. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We begin on the labour front, and the National Labour Commission has ruled the ongoing strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association is illegal, citing violations of the Labour Act. In a June 4 statement, the NLC accused the union of failing to follow proper procedures, including skipping a scheduled hearing on the 4th of June after receiving notice of the strike on 29th of May. The Commission, acting under Section 162 of the Labour Act, Act 651, and Regulation 20 of LI 1833, had summoned the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association for negotiations, but the union did not attend. The NLC further stated that the GRNMA did not comply with Section 159, which mandates formal notification for lawful industrial action. As a result, the Commission has ordered the nurses to immediately call off the strike, also resume dialogue with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, submit a report on the talks by the 25th of June at 2:30 p.m., suspend all protest actions, including red armbands and service withdrawals. Now, the nurses escalated their strike on June 4, withdrawing outpatient and emergency services, causing disruptions in hospitals nationwide. The Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta Kando, is currently visiting some selected health facilities to assess the impact on patients and families. And we'll be bringing you some more here. But earlier, we spoke to the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, David Tinkwang, and we'll bring you what he said very shortly.
We are currently in a meeting and we are discussing the possibility of escalating the strike because we think that the employer doesn't seem to care about the plight of nurses and midwives in Ghana. Oftentimes, nurses and midwives are so busy breaking their back, and for that matter, their issues don't come into the media. Do you know that 2016, the same condition of service was not implemented? When Dr. Atu was the Deputy Minister of Finance under Setekpe, think that they can disrespect nurses and midwives in Ghana because they can hide behind Labour Commission, and there is no strike that has been declared legal in Ghana, as far as I'm concerned. Since the establishment of Labour Commission, have you ever heard that Labour Commission has declared any strike legal? So as far as we are concerned, we are pressing home our demand for what is due us, okay? This is a fundamental human right as is enshrined in Chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution. We don't care about what anybody says. What we think is that we are doing the right thing. They can hide behind technicalities and tell us that what we are doing is illegal and compel us to go to work. Nobody can compel us to go to work. Until the employer does his side of the bargain, we have signed a collective agreement. It is up to them to approve it for implementation. Listen, the collective agreement is a living document. It has an expiry date, okay? Even there is a clause in the collective agreement that 1 year into the life of the document, the parties can call for wage opener. So they should approve it. If they think that there is something that they want to alter, which will be met with a lot of difficulty, They should approve it as it has been signed. Because, listen, the point is that it wasn't just negotiated one-sided. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission led the employer.
And you heard that Dr. David Tinkwang-Chum, he is General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Well, Labour consultant Austin Game, who has been consulting for the nurses for the past 18 years, says that the government and the nurses must come to the negotiation table once again.
The labour law, as soon as 651, is about the law sitting between us and our conditions of service. If you like, call it collective agreement. The two and the practice is very crucial when discussing these things. Now, the two parties, Labour, the nurses and midwives, they are a group that met with the employer called government and negotiated into the collective agreement, have the responsibility to ensure safe and smooth implementation of the collective agreement. Should there be any problem between the two parties and they want to do something about it, either party, the two parties have the right to meet, have a discussion, negotiate, and if they have any problem, they go to the National Labour Commission or to a private facilitator to assist them to resolve the matter.
And you had the Labour consultant Austin Game. Let's speak to John Agbenyo. He is the national PRO for the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives Ghana. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers and listeners.
We understand that you didn't join the strike. Any reason?
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to clarify. I want to say first and foremost that UPNMG is one of the unions that is interested in the implementation of the condition of service. But we believe that we can do better than just going on strike to get this implemented. And so we have decided that since the holder of the collective bargaining certificate have refused to engage properly to ensure that all other unions are on the same page before calling the strike, our members will still be at post and provide health care for Ghanaians.
Do I get an understanding? Are you under the Ghana Nurses and Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, or you are a separate group? You don't belong to the group that has declared the strike?
UPNMG is an independent body, an independent union for nurses and midwives, just as the GNMA. In fact, I might put on record that UPNMG is the second largest union within the nursing and midwifery profession. And so we are a union on our own, and we have our own structures and make our own decisions. But based on the labor law, the holder of the collective bargaining certificate, which is the GNMA, is expected to consult these unions before going for bargaining. And that is the reason why we felt that the consultations were not properly done, especially for the calling of this particular strike.
So Dr. David Tinkwang, who speaks for the Nurses and Midwives Association, is saying that you have had negotiated conditions of service for months, which have not been implemented. Yeah. Do I get the understanding that for you, you are not affected by whichever conditions of service that are supposed to be implemented? You're not part?
Thank you. We are very much affected. No matter what it is that has been negotiated, once it's implemented, all nurses and midwives are supposed to benefit. But our concern is what processes are we using? In fact, the condition of service that have been negotiated, the reason why we are here today is because of the failure of the GNMA to do the right thing. That is why we kept it up to now. Because when it was negotiated, we had to end up in court because the right things were not done. And so because of these things, that is why we are here today. And so it's not as though members of other unions will not benefit from the condition of service when negotiated and implemented for nurses and midwives.
Aren't you betraying the overall mother group that all of you are fighting for the same cause, and yet you think that because you were not consulted properly, you're not joining them? At the end of the day, if it goes through, you benefit.
Yeah, so we and our members also felt betrayed because we had an understanding. We had meetings upon meetings where we understood that, okay, we're coming to meet together as unions and make a decision, only for one man to take a U-turn and decide to declare a strike. In fact, it is only natural that if I don't understand what you are doing, I should not follow you. Okay? And if you believe that my opinions don't matter, then it is okay for you to go ahead with whatever you intend to do. And so we felt that there are other ways we can use to get this. In fact, before this strike was called, the finance minister planned to meet us on the 18th of June to get finality to the matter. And so it is actually mind-boggling to have the GNMA come back to call for strike. In fact, when the Minister of Health met the unions after the declaration of the strike, they had agreed that they were going to form a labor committee to look at the implementation of the condition of service. Only for them to come out and then say that the roadmap they have given stands. So it is actually more than what we are just seeing as a union fighting for their members. If they were actually fighting for members, why didn't they honor the meeting that was scheduled yesterday on the 4th by the National Labour Commission?
Let me ask you.
So obviously, there's something else going on that we cannot see. We are seeing beyond just pretense to care for nurses and midwives.
Let me ask you my last question. What is the security like where your members are working? Because we understand that some health facilities have already been locked in some parts of the country.
Yeah, so I must put on record that majority of healthcare facilities in the country are operational. We have members who are working there. Some facilities are the only one having some pockets of challenges, but yesterday we tried to resolve some of them. As we speak now, we have some emergency numbers that anybody who feels intimidated are supposed to get in contact with and deal with those issues. We are also in talks with some of the security agencies to ensure that some of these things are curtailed. By and large, we don't have any issues of intimidation or issues of harassment that is so serious that we have to deal with. But those that have come to our attention, we have put in measures to deal with them. So our members are safe wherever they find themselves in delivering healthcare. And I want to call on all members that wherever you find yourself, even if you are on leave and you don't have much to do at home, kindly get back to work. Let's save the Ghanaian populace until this unnecessary strike is called off.
Thank you very much, John Agbenu. He speaks for the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives, Ghana. Let's get a quick update from Rabiu Tanko. He's our Upper East Region correspondent. Rabiu, we understand that some health facilities have been locked up where you are. Just tell us specifically which parts of the region you're at and what's happening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Beatrice. I'm currently at the Border Health Center, but earlier this morning I was at the regional hospital in Bogotanga, where the RTH, the mental department, the most important department that people are yearning for is the dialysis center that has been locked since yesterday. So a lot of the patients who express their concern, and then I met a lot of patients who arrived there somewhere 6 p.m., somewhere there for more than 5 hours when I arrived. Others were still sitting, so I asked them, why are they still sitting when they are not being attended to? They said they don't know, they are confused. So maybe somebody can just come somewhere. I said, no, today they are on strike. So luckily, I met some of the regional executives of the registered nurses and midwives who spoke to me, saying that they have sacrificed a lot, and then what we want is for government to abide by the collective agreement that is on the table. So for now, they will be able to come back until such things are resolved. So I spoke to the secretary, that is really Francis, if you can take a listen to what he said.
I'm sorry, we don't have that, but thank you very much, Rabiu Tanko. He's our Upper East Region correspondent, bringing us update as regards what's happening in health facilities following a declaration of strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Some 14 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll tell you why the court has decided to acquit, discharge Atayi's accomplice after 20 years in jail. Don't go away.
Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba. Hey, freezer. Adama. Adama, Adama, Metimoso, my sorry. Canino, Obo Moasia, I do fresh no be mienu miensa na say 9 I tell what we dey abase Adam afọ adwena kuafo ho hu say ye de aduro ba kope e be shifu ye bia technology akofo freezer ba wenku a eno anto benya 15 latest no ahwiegum watia no ahwiegum o de basia fu ye bia ni o basia bio ekoti say obeti mo no na mu ye sure say o mention tasie ne mu ase na afọ na anu a freezer umpa we na apade freezer
basia ebe so do so ama amoni age
omuti na me wasika omuti na me di me nyina duru bia so me dum bi Adama with that Adama no kuya Adama you can't resist
Ubenya Adama West Africa for edwe bi wo baby biara ye ton kraye ho edwu afi kayo ne kenkan enchoya ewo edure ho.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7 now. An anti-Galamsey task force led by the administrator of the Minerals Development Fund, Dr. Louisa Hannah Bissiu, on Thursday morning were confronted by some heavily built gun-wielding men at Akofrem, a community in the Achuma Mponia district of the Ashanti region. The confrontation ensued after the arrest of some 7 Chinese illegal miners. William Evans Inkum is our man with the team. He joins us live on the phone. William, just tell us what happened.
Well, Beatrice, I can only describe the situation as a whole. This is a task force. We'll be moving throughout some Galamsey infested areas just so they'll be able to change the narrative. And this one is being spearheaded by the Minerals Development Fund led by Dr. Hannah Bissiu. This morning, we were at Akofrem, and they had picked intelligence that some Chinese were there, polluting water bodies and, of course, degrading forest belts. We're moving from house to house. They were able to arrest 7 of them. In fact, they were sent to the site just so they will appreciate the level of degradation, pollution that they caused the environment. Right after that, they were accosted to a waiting vehicle who was supposed to transport them to Kumasi, the regional police command, for the initial process to start and may possibly, bring them to Accra. But the moment they were accosted to the vehicle, then we saw one Tundra and then some motorbikes occupied by thugs, wielding guns, heavily armed, what have you. And that moment, they ordered that the task force release the Chinese nationals, or it's going to be a showdown. True to their words, they started shooting because the police were not ready to kowtow to their demands. They started shooting. The police remained calm and then engaged them in a dialogue. For 30 minutes, we're all held hostage because they said if they are not released, then they will also not allow us to move out of Akofrem. After 30 minutes, cool heads prevailed. They led us to the Nyahini police station where we met the commander. Of course, we also picking intelligence that the tax operation was sanctioned, allegedly sanctioned by the Nyahini police commander. Of course, when we went there, I saw some altercation between Dr. Hannah Bissiu and then the commander. Right after the altercation, I engaged her to find out whether she'll be able to confirm. She also said that, yes, it was the commander who sent the tax to come and block, any passage. I have been speaking with Dr. Bissiu. I don't know whether you have the...
Yes, I do. I do. So perhaps we should listen to her and then we'll continue with our conversation, William.
Absolutely.
The community is fed up. And in fact, the communities are fed up. They are fed up that they destroy the land, they destroy the water bodies, and at the end of the day, they're going to blame government. Because they want water, government has to provide. They want this, government has to provide. For these Chinese who say they don't even feel sorry for what they've done, they've destroyed our water bodies. They've done so much. We will also push to make sure that the law takes its course. But if they are going to be deported, it should not be before they pay for the restoration of offering.
She said before they pay for the destruction. So I just want you to paint a picture for us, the extent of damage.
Hurry, Beatrice, that's the most appropriate word you can use, because the moment you see the level of degradation, the only thing that fills your heart is sorrow. sadness. I mean, arable land, hectares, several hundreds of hectares of land being degraded, the Ofin River badly polluted. The Chinese themselves, they drink. I mean, they are able to afford bottled water. The community will have to struggle in accessing potable water, and that is the situation at Akofrem.
And we understand that there's actually a filling station with a pump inside the forest. Tell us how that is like.
Well, absolutely. So that is the one oiling or fueling the excavator that are being used for this kind of heinous activity in that particular area. We did not meet the owner of that particular fuel station, but it is not also new in mining areas. I mean, illegal mining areas. It's a common spectacle.
Well, quite a situation. Thank you very much, William Evans Inkum. He's a man in the Shanti region. And today, Ghana is also joining the world to observe World Environment Day. The day, which is under the auspices of the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, has been held annually since 1973. This year's World Environment Day is focused on ending plastic pollution globally. Ghana generates about 1.1 million tons of plastic waste per year. Due to lack of proper waste management, only about 5% of plastic waste in the country is recycled, with the rest often ending up in the environment. Ridding the planet of plastic pollution is an important contribution to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, including those on climate action, sustainable production and consumption, protection of seas and oceans, and repairing ecosystems and retaining biodiversity. Daroboso is the Deputy National Coordinator, National Director for the Environmentalist Group, Arusha, Ghana. He joins us live on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much once again for joining us.
Good afternoon to you as well. I believe you are great.
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. Let me first get your reaction to what happened between Hannah Bissue and the supposed gun-wielding men who confronted her team after 7 Chinese illegal miners were arrested today, just some hours ago.
Yes, I mean, I am very sad to hear that we are still struggling to get a good of the menace of Galamsey, particularly with the perpetrators. The government has all the resources at its disposal. There shouldn't be any instance where this development should even happen. And I want the response from government to be swift and very decisive and tough to get to the bottom, get out and flush out these people who are making it so difficult for us to really deal with this menace that we are confronted with. So for me, it's sad. And the fact that the government, saw a government representative on the ground, and this is also actually the risks that most people are confronted with, the Forestry Commission staff, EPA, Water Resource Commission, they are confronted with this kind of risks and challenging and day out. And I think that the government should be very decisive and deal with this menace. I think it's getting out of hand. And for me, I see the approach in handling this so far is one of kids' goals, and we're not being very, very tough with the situation as it is there. So I think they should tell government that we're still joking. There's more we can do than we are already doing, and so we need to really get our boots on the ground. I would say, casual nature of it, taking the issues, reporting as and when, going to the grounds and when. The police is doing all that they can, but they can do more. There's more.
I don't know.
They don't have the resources at their disposal. They have everything they need at their disposal. So why not?
I get you, but I don't know whether you got the picture painted by Shanti region correspondent there. Hannah Bissue was there, and she alleged that the police commander in the area actually sent the gun-wielding men to stop her and her team from arresting the 7 Chinese nationals.
And that's what I'm saying. It's all and something that the government can deal with. It lies in the bosom of the government. They control almost all the state agencies. And so if they really want to deal with it, they'll make sure everybody falls in line. We see that the IGP, with his men on the ground in many places across the country trying to deal with Galamsey, going after miners in places. So why do we have another group of renegades, as you say, police officers, now going to even attack government officials on the ground. So this is all something that I have said the government is not taking it very seriously.
Let me ask you,
if we are really concerned about it, we will make sure that every state institution aligns. And if you are not, you are fired or you are interdicted. This is how we should deal with it so that we have zero tolerance over the impunity that is going on.
Let me ask you my last question. I was saying that today is World Environment Day, and one of the things you're looking at is plastics. What actions do you expect individuals and communities in the country to take to help deal with the plastic menace we have now? Just very briefly.
Yes, when it comes to plastic pollution, Ghana, we've seen the devastations that's caused every year, the flooding that we experience, the results and the research shows that the result of plastic pollution. So if there's anything that could really push us to deal with this menace, then we need to look at how our cities and urban centers are flooded every year. Report says that Ghana spends close to $50 million annually in drainage interventions, all because we are not managing our practice well. So as we make these days, we need to really get serious with our actions and solutions, because really there are solutions and there are alternatives. And I think we all need to own up to the process, also support the change that is needed to reduce plastic pollution and environment.
Mr. Bosu, thank you for speaking to us.
It's a pleasure.
Dario Bosu is with Arusha, Ghana. Now, before we go, the Court of Appeal has acquitted and discharged Atayi's accomplice Yao Asante Jekum after serving over 20 years in jail for conspiracy to commit robbery. Asante Jekum, a mechanic, was sentenced to 35 years in December 2002 for conspiracy to commit robbery after being arrested as an accomplice to notorious robber Atayi, also known, that's Ayite, also known as Atayi. His lawyer, George Bernard Shaws, had argued that Asante Jekum's only link to Atayi was that most of the bikes used by the robbers in Atayi's fraternity were repaired in his workshop. Lord Edwasare is our court affairs correspondent. He joins us live on the line. Lord, a happy day for the family of Yao and he himself. What can you tell us?
Indeed, Beatrice. Now, Yao, he says he was remanded in 2002. Narrating his applied, he indicated that in 2002, while at church, he was picked up for being an accomplice of Atayi. And you recall that in the early 2000s, his name was all over the place, talking about Atayi for being a notorious robber, for everything that he was doing to his victims. Now, Yao indeed himself says that he knows Atayi through and through because he used to fix his motorbike. He sometimes frequented Atayi's home, and so it's not someone that he did not know, but he just knew Atayi as a taxi driver, and so he was surprised when he was accosted on the charge of aiding or assisting Atayi in robberies. In court today, there's 3-member panel of justices indicated that the confession statement by the other convicts against Yao Asante Jekum should not have carried enough weight to warrant his conviction and subsequent sentence. They added that the evidence that the prosecution had put forward was not sufficient for that cause. And so they acquitted and then discharged him. Yao Asante Jekum himself said he was very pleased with the outcome. It only proves to show the world that he was innocent of the charges against him. He was remanded in 2002. Eventually, he was sentenced in 2010. And then right now, Beatrice, he's a 47-year-old man. But when he was convicted, it was 24 years. Look at 23 years of his life spent. And so he still has no ill feelings. He actually added that he will go and visit Atayi now that he's out. We can listen to him.
One word, orgasmic.
And what do you mean by orgasmic?
It's just like the sheer relief and an outpouring of joy when you realize the fruits of your hard labor. Because since 2014, when then 2IC of its own prison, Mr. Oswan Ponza referred this case to me. I saw that there were merits in it, and that there have been.
And we do apologize for the quality of that sound there. We'll bring you more in our subsequent bulletins. You also heard earlier our Court Affairs correspondent, Lord Edwasari. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up shortly is Business Daily with Michael Obodu. Stay with us.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7 with me, Michael Obodu. Coming up, Bank of Ghana directs banks to name and shame willful loan defaulters in audit report as part of measures to cut high non-performing loans. We'll hear from Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama.
The measures will restrict further credit to strategic or willful defaulters and share their identities with key financial sector oversight bodies.
Also coming up, independent power producers endorse 1 cedi energy sector levy, warning of grid instability and intermittent power outages without urgent financial intervention. These and many other stories coming up shortly. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. The Bank of Ghana is introducing a new measure aimed at tackling rising non-performing loans in the banking sector, including a plan to name willful defaulters in banks' audited financial statements. Speaking at a post-MPC engagement, Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama said the move is part of efforts to promote transparency, restore credit discipline, and ensure responsible lending. He explained that individuals or institutions who deliberately refuse to repay loans despite having the capacity to do so will be identified and flagged in official reports.
We'll soon issue a comprehensive directive to tackle persistently high non-performing loans across regulated financial institutions. We will consult with leadership of your association before the guidelines are issued. The measures will, for example, mandate write-offs of fully provisioned loans with no realistic recovery prospects, excluding related party exposures. It will cap NPL ratios at 10% of gross loans by December 2026. The measures will tighten restructuring rules requiring sustained repayment before reclassification. The measures will also enforce timely collateral recovery, especially for overdue loans. And then the measures will strengthen credit risk governance and require proof of effectiveness. The measures will restrict further credit to strategic or willful defaulters and share their identities with key financial sector oversight bodies. As part of this directive, banks will also be required to disclose blacklisted willful defaulters in their audited financial statements.
Now, as Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama. The stock market rally is expected to continue through the second and third quarters of 2025, driven by favorable corporate earnings and a recovery in economic activity. According to Data Bank research, given these positive backdrops, it reiterates its expectation of the Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index closing around 6,850 points by the end of 2025, translating to 45% plus or minus 500 basis points. Also, the Consumer Confidence Index and Business Confidence Index have both increased significantly to around 100 basis points, which was last seen pre-COVID. Now, moving on, government is setting its sights on a significantly higher Treasury bill mobilization today, targeting 6.66 billion cedis. This target represents an increase of approximately 2.77 billion cedis compared to the previous week's auction. This report has the details.
This signals a more aggressive approach to raising funds to meet maturing obligations. The increased target comes as Ghana's Treasury bill yields have continued their modest decline. This downward trend in yield is being interpreted as a positive sign, reflecting improved investor confidence in the country's inflation outlook and suggesting an easing off short-term funding pressures. The government intensified borrowing efforts are crucial for managing its financial commitments, with recent data showing a consistent need to raise funds to settle maturing debts. The current climate of declining yields, which makes borrowing more affordable, provides a favorable window for the government to step up its mobilization strategy. Thread Business will be closely watching the auction results to gauge market appetite and the implications for Ghana's broader economic stability.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, the Ghana Statistical Service has urged government to maintain its support for macroeconomic policies that will continue to stabilize the city. According to government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu, this is to further reinforce the disinflation trend. His recommendation comes on the back of the country's consumer inflation sharply dropping to 18% in May from 21.2% in April. The May inflation rate of 18.4% is the lowest in 3 years.
We would like to recommend government to continue supporting the macroeconomic policies that keep the city stable, that reinforces the disinflationary trend, and also implement targeted interventions in food logistics, utilities, and education assets in high inflation regions such as the Upper West region, which is still recording inflation above 38%. We'd like to recommend for government to invest in post-harvest storage, transport infrastructure, and irrigation to stabilize food prices further. Government is already implementing a number of social protection interventions. We'd like to urge government to continue to protect the vulnerable groups through expansion of targeted social protection in high inflation regions and sectors, especially where food and education costs are rising. We also recommend for government to promote local production by supporting SMEs and agribusinesses to strengthen domestic supply chains, and also align monetary and fiscal policies through collaboration between the Central Bank and the Ministry of Finance to monitor inflation drivers and evaluate the need for cautious monetary tightening if pressures persist.
And that was government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu there. Now, independent power producers have thrown their weight behind the government's introduction of a 1 Ghana cedi energy sector levy, describing it as necessary and time-critical intervention to rescue the country's struggling electricity value chain. The following 3 Business News Desk report provides details of a statement issued by the Independent Power Producers Ghana.
The independent power producers say they firmly support the newly introduced 1 cedi energy sector levy, describing it as a vital step to restore stability in the country's power sector. In a statement signed by their chief executive, Dr. Eliklima Petogbo, the group stressed that the electricity value chain is under immense strain, citing growing debts, poor cost recovery, and fuel supply challenges that threaten grid stability and investor confidence. The IPPs blame the sector's current crisis on what they describe as mismanagement and lack of transparency in the use of previous energy levies and loan proceeds. They argue that while the new charge may be tough for consumers, the cost of inaction, such as blackouts, plant shutdowns and job losses would be far greater. The group is urging Ghanaians to support the levy in good faith and says it is ready to work with government to ensure the funds are used transparently to deliver a financially stable and resilient power sector.
And that was the 3 Business News Desk report, bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please visit our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is Urban Blend with Black Kobe. Do stay tuned.